All right. What is up, everybody? Thanks for stopping by. This is, I believe, the Robotpencil stream 11, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going. We're making some strives. Strives?
You're striving.
Oh, I meant to say stride, and then I said strives. We always have such great intros to these goddamn streams. So with me is
Whatever.
It's Kaylin Chalk, who just said whatever, and John Rivera. So you guys want to say what's up?
What's up, guys?
Hi.
Okay, you guys are real
Hi.
real entertainers, man.
Yeah.
You guys are real entertainers.
What's up, everybody?
I'm
Yeah.
super fucking entertaining. Don't hate.
You know, it's funny. John, he did some audio voiceover for a game we're working on called Ultra Mix Showdown HD, and do one of the like player one bashes.
Player one bashes.
What the hell is that?
So anime.
What? How is that even? That's not even anime. I don't think
Yeah,
that
it
is.
is. It is.
That's
Just
like a creepy,
embrace
It
like-
was
it.
fun. It was fun.
Are you trying to make like that Marvel like versus Capcom guy?
Yeah, we're just-
Marvelous. They do like a combo.
John could totally do it.
Extraordinary.
So, anyways, today we're going to be talking about a few topics. For any of you who are just joining us for the first time, the way that this goes down is I'm a painter, and so I'll be painting just whatever. It usually has no relevance to what we're talking about. It's just something that you can watch as you listen. I think in the future we're going to be actually turning these podcast or like video podcasts to audio podcasts because it starts to transcend into that realm. And so we're working towards that, making like a pure volume kind of like audio podcast type thing. Again, where you can just download for free and all that great stuff, and just listen to it while you work or on your commute. But as we get going, you know, we're just still working on the format of the show and stuff like that, and we're trying to make it something that we can keep going and keep it on schedule. So far, we've been doing all right. Anyway,
You gotta
So-
get an intro song.
yeah, we'll work on all that
John's
stuff.
gotta make it. Just with his own voice.
Wait, is that Mortal Kombat? Shut up.
No.
Test your might. Mortal
What sound-
Kombat.
Doing sound effects, John? Dude, you know what sound you need to try to practice?
What?
You need to try to practice doing the eagle sound. Not that generic eagle sound you always hear in commercials and stuff. Like I've been trying it and I can't get it. Like I could do
I
a
don't think I
Jaguar
can do
sound,
it.
you know, like the wow wow wow. Like
No.
they always hear that in movies or whatever. But like the eagle sound is so hard to do.
Yeah, there's that like the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's like another one which is the Howie scream from Broken Arrow, where he gets kicked off of the train and flies
Oh, yeah.
like, off a bridge, right?
It's the best.
It's like the same one they use in like when you level up in like Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare.
Yeah, yeah.
Or StarCraft.
They use it in
Barracks.
StarCraft, the first StarCraft. No, it was Alchemy. Was it that building called? Was it the Alchemy building? Alchemy Bay, or I forget. It wasn't the barracks though.
Huh?
Is whenever you would upgrade stim packs in like that building, and you click on that building, and they'd be like,
Yeah.
Was
as soon
it-
as you
yeah,
click on
yeah,
the
that's
building.
good.
4 version.
Okay.
It wasn't the barracks though, but it was attached to like the Marines and
Oh, yeah,
ghosts
that's
and
right.
stuff like that. Anyway, so
C4.
So the format of the show is very loose, very casual, as you can tell. We just talk about stuff that are retaining the entertainment industry, stuff that we are involved in specifically. You know, there's a lot of podcasts and audiocasts about this type of things, and as much as I respect them and love a lot of them, and there are some that are really credible, I think it'd be nice to have one where, you know, people like us that actually work in the industry and know some of the people that actually work on some of these projects and have a little bit more of an objective opinion and insight, I think would be good, especially for those who are aspiring to become an artist. I think it's really funny to hear all this great commentary from all these people, but sometimes they generally don't have all the information, and they're just kind of going from, you know, personal insight, which is always fun and entertaining, you know. But enough of that. I think today's topics we're going to be talking about Tekken 7 just came out, and let me just go ahead and show the article that I got. So Tekken 7 just came out, and from Eurogamer.net, here, I'll link it in the Skype chat, and John will link it in the normal chat.
Oakley, I hope you're in here. I know you've had some great memories with me and Tekken. So
Oh yeah, Oakley, our friend Oakley. he was like, I'm the best at Tekken, man. And Kalen's like, what? He's like, where do you play, bro? Like, where do you play? He's like, oh, I play like in my living room with like my roommates. He's like, you're not good at Tekken. And Oakley's like, no, I beat everybody in my room, like my house. And he's like, that's a closed experiment, man. You're you're homeschooled, man. You don't know the world. And,
That can be relatable to art, though. It's like
yeah.
it's like saying you're the best artist, like in your house.
Oh yeah.
It's like just your house.
Oh.
But then you go out to the real world and you get your ass kicked.
Yeah, let's just to go off track for a little bit. Like, I had a student once who I really, it was a revelation to them, because to him he was like a big fish in a small pond type thing, and it's one of those things that artists, that happens to us all the time. Where, like, at least it didn't happen to me because I wasn't the art kid, but there was, like, a lot of us that I know, like, were art kids. Like, they were like the art kid, and everybody around them was like, you are amazing and there's nothing better than what you do, right? But then if you just browse the internet for like half a second, you realize that that's completely false. You realize immediately that there's thousands of people better. And, and it's important to have that insight. So anyway, so Oakley had that kind of, and he got his ass handed to him by Kalen. And I don't even think that I'm a good Tekken player. And I was like, I want to challenge Oakley. And I even beat Oakley. And I was just like, I'm not even good. I just play Eddie Gordo and just press button mash. And I just raffle stomped him. And it was funny. So
yeah, I'm actually new to this whole Tekken news. I'm a big Tekken fan. I used to play in a lot of tournaments. I wasted a lot of time on Tekken. I'm a lay player, play low tier. So I'm actually really curious on why. Like, I'm looking at this character. You told it to me like an hour, like half hour ago, or like Tekken 7. I'm like, what? What about it? Like, it's a new character. They're mad.
Yeah. So people see there's a new character called Lucky Chloe, and there's this whole movement specifically like from the feminists, the extreme feminists. I don't want to speak for all. I'll speak against every single person who believes in women's rights. Obviously, like, tremendous amounts of people in the game industry actually respect and treat their women with decency. I'm not trying to say that it doesn't happen where there's this people where like, oh, we're totally going to objectify women and whatever. I'm sure it happens, and it could happen in the workspace. But from my experience, I've never seen it, and I've never like heard any of my female colleagues ever be like, man, this game industry is so sexist. Never. Like, really. And that's from my experience. And whenever I see stuff like this, where there's an article about, like, oh, look, they're objectifying and making generic-looking female characters and all this stuff, I'm like, so what? Who cares? If you don't like the product, then don't buy it. I don't like Justin Bieber, right? I don't go out there buy his makeup line.
Whoa, back the fuck up. He's got makeup line?
Oh, yeah, you betcha. Dude, think about his demographic. It's a smart move.
Oh,
man.
so it's for girls, not for guys.
Oh, and so it's a smart business move, right? Justin Bieber has 14 to from the ages of 14 to 18-year-old girls dying over him. And if he has a makeup line or a fragrance line, it's not for dudes. I'm not gonna go to the store and be like, oh, dude, did you get that new Bieber, dude? The Bieber musk. I'm all about that Bieber musk. No, because I have no interest in that. And it's okay if I don't have any interest in it, and it's okay if I don't like it, but it's not okay to be like, this needs to stop. Like, this needs to be destroyed, It's like, because then you're basically saying, oh, freedom of speech is not allowed, Like, anytime someone says, you're doing something that's impeding my freedom, so you should stop it, is a hypocrisy. Right? Because you're basically telling them to stop what they're doing, And I think it's better to be thought of as long as there's no harm being done. I don't think it's in people's best interest to try to demoralize or start taking down things that they disapprove of. I mean, unless it's truly harmful. I really believe that it's it's okay. Let there be half naked bunny chick walking around.
I'm so confused on this one.
And she's not even that bad. There's like so much
I'm like,
worse
if you're gonna
ones,
complain about it, like, okay, you can complain about stuff. That's totally fine. Like, I hear you.
Absolutely,
But
you're
like,
allowed to complain. Yeah.
like you can't complain about that one. She's actually one of the most clothed chicks like in the game. Like Christy Montanaro, like she wears literally nothing. So I'm like, they didn't complain back then, but you're gonna complain about this one. I'm like, you're not gonna complain about like the game Dead or Alive,
Yeah.
which is literally like they have titty physics
Yeah.
like on the tits, like they just bounce. Like it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
It's like literally titty physics, and they have like options where they can
Did you
be
say
like in
titty
bikinis. Like I don't know what do you call it? I call it
No,
titty.
no, you just like stumbled your words for a second and it sounded like titty fitix.
Oh, it's titty physics. Anyways,
Titty
we call it
fitix.
titty physics. We call it titty physics. I'm down with that.
Hashtag
But I'm just
titty
like,
fitix.
like that game
Like
is
titty
like
fitix.
a little bit over the top. But I'm like, what? Like really? Like I
Yeah,
feel
it
like
is
they're
over
they're
the top.
they're putting the blame on like the wrong like characters at the moment. Like Street Fighter has Jury, and she wears like an eye patch for a bra, and like
Yeah.
no one
here-
explains.
Here's some insight for everybody, because it's easy to just talk about whether it's right or wrong to go in there, but there's definitely factual information out there that you can acquire if you just, again, like the whole big fish and small pond. If you just take a half a second, look on the internet, you'll start to find real statistical value showing that in the last decade, even just a short amount of time, that young men have grown up knowing that objectifying women is bad, right? Like that, you don't do that shit, right? Like it's understandable. It's rising, and games have not been. The games have been the fucking same for the last 10 years in terms of subject matter. Like there wasn't. You didn't see like one of the greatest games, Super Metroid, which is an old school game, where they revealed that Samus was a chick. People were like, "What? This is fucking bullshit. Burn this game." No, because they just were like, "Dude, that's a dope twist, man." Yeah, like their minds blew up in the opposite direction. They were like, "That's tight. I didn't see that coming," and it was fine. But then it was weird because at the end she was like in a bikini. Then it's all objectifying her, and all of a sudden it's like she's a chick and she's hot. But then you got to think again, like who is this for? Like back then it was for young men. It really was, and it's fine if it's for a specific audience. It's not supposed to be for every single person if the person doesn't want it to be, right? If the person wants to sell it to a young teenage boy with like just going through puberty, then yeah, I mean it's gonna happen. It's gonna sell well if they do market it that way. But it doesn't mean that these young men are gonna be like, oh dude, I'm only gonna rape women. That's the only way that I can have sex is by rape, because this video game endorses that. Which, by the way, there's very, very small amount of games that have that in their game. Like, oh, rape's tight, dude. Let's make a mini game in terms of raping. Like that, very, very. I think I can't even name one, right? So
It's like that game that came out, that one where you like go and kill cops. Like it's called like
that's like the first time a game's like gone like out of its way to be like it's all right to be a murderer.
yeah, like that game. I was like, all right, dude, like
Yeah.
it's interesting idea, but like it's bad timing, bro.
Yeah, and it's funny because if it's allowed to be out, like it's supposed to, like people are allowed to do that. It's harmless, and it's the game's not entirely saying that you should go out and kill people, like in real life. It's just saying this is the object of this game, right? And what we'll find out is if people actually want to buy it or not, and I promise you, not too many people will, right? And then it'll show that there's not a market for mass murdering, like literal mass murdering,
Yep, they're gonna realize like it's an interesting idea because when you think about it, like at the heart, like the game is no worse than like Grand Theft Auto, but then again, like it's the presentation. You know what I mean?
It's the
Like-
context, right? Because in
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto, the context is you're a criminal, but you don't need to kill people. Like, and the people you're killing are other criminals, right? So it's kind of justified in some sense. But there's an aspect of that game where you're allowed to just run around murdering people, innocent people. But the game is not. The game actually discourages it, right? Because there's like, if you start killing people, then you get the cop meter to go up, right? And then cops will start chasing you, and then the military. So, and you start to think less about it being like, I'm literally murdering people, more like a challenge, like how many innocent pedestrians can I kill in this game and try to survive, And and it's okay because people don't go around shooting people because hey, I played Grand Theft Auto and it looked fun in there. I wanted to try it in real life. Most kids and most young adults definitely know the difference, right? And if they don't, that's not the fault of the gamer. That's not the fault of the game. It's the fault of like the parents, really, right?
Yeah, you can't blame it on bad parenting. Like,
Oh,
one commercial about domestic violence isn't gonna like erase like 20 years of bad parenting.
yeah,
Where a guy goes, I was totally gonna beat up this dude, but I saw a commercial in the NFL. Not gonna do it anymore.
Yeah. And so, anyways, let's talk about something different now. Let's talk about Mad Max trailer. The Mad Max trailer came out, and I'm just gonna play.
Epic.
Yeah, I'm just gonna play some highlights of this without the audio. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my first reaction is, I love the Mad Max series, and I think this is gonna be cool because it's done by the director. Tom Hardy's pretty gritty, man. He's a really good actor too.
Yeah.
And I just can't believe how saturated it is, man. It's so beautiful.
Yeah,
It's like a desert scene. Like it's in the middle of the desert. Like this shot right here. Hold on. Like right here.
Go to that shot where there's like explosions of the smoke, and you can see the smoke is like a dark like gray, but then like inside of it is like fire, and it's like a bright red.
Yeah,
and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not real. I'm like, is that like altered? And then I realized like it is altered, but I like it though. I like.
Yeah, it's a great way of like.
And those cars though, man.
Yeah,
I like how insane it feels. Like everyone looks
the
freaking
music,
insane.
all the stuff, everything about it. And so I like the trailer because it still doesn't really reveal any kind of contextual idea of the story. Remember how we were talking last week about Terminator and how, like I left without any real resolve. I had no idea what it was about and nothing in terms of like the shots and all, like nothing stood out to me as I'm gonna get something out of this. Right, there's that director who directs those movies, like The Fall and what was the other movie?
I love that movie.
Immortals. Yeah, so those movies I love, but I do not love them for their story because I can't tell you what their stories are about. I don't know what his storytelling isn't up to par, and I'm sure it's not his fault entirely, but it could be. But that director's visuals and his compositions are that of legends, right? And it's worth watching just for that alone. And what I like about George Miller, I think that's the director, right? I don't know. Yeah, George Miller. He has that sense too, man. When you look at like every shot and even the sense of color and how the shots are moving, like there's a lot of great action going on, and it's really cool. And the trailer is really just about like the apocalypse, and there's a guy named Mad Max. And so what's it about, right? And that's really cool. It makes me so curious to what it's about. More than anything else. And if you've never seen the series before, you know nothing about this universe. It's really intriguing, And there's probably going to be another trailer, sometime next year, because it's in the summer of 2015, which will probably show us the story arc and like the stories in which, this is about, which is good. That's how it's supposed to be. So it's really, really entertaining, and it makes me I'm really pumped on it. Mm-hmm. So that's my thoughts on that. All right.
Looks dope.
Yeah. And so here, I'll link it to John, so if you get anyone who has not seen it, they can go ahead and watch it.
It seems like a lot of like unique characters. Like all of them look like crazy in their own kind of weird way.
Dude,
it's
so cool.
Yeah, that's how the classic was too.
Yeah, I would have.
These freaks.
Like where that one guy jumps like off his car with like 2 sticks and like he hits it and then both cars explode. I was like, dude, what
Suicide.
the fuck? Like, why would you just kill yourself like that? It's just like you can tell that like in the world, like no one gives a fuck about their own personal well-being apparently.
Yeah, which is cool. So the next thing that I think we can start to talk about is we're in an age where next gen gaming is looking insanely realistic. I remember when I first played Mario 64. I was like,
sorry.
Sorry. I remember. Yeah, exactly. Mario 64. Mario 64. No, there was a time where I remember watching or playing Mario 64, and me and my friend were just sitting there, and we're like, how could graphics get any better than this? Like this, like next year it's gonna be real, like real life. And that's obviously false, because now we're getting in the age of like, you look at like trailers like Uncharted 4, the Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain. Like here's a piece of this trailer. Yeah. Well, this is very low res actually. This is probably someone else's video, but this is a bad example. But like, if you find yeah, it's like a bootleg version. But if you find the official one, you'll start to see what I'm talking about. It's crazy. And if you haven't seen it already, just Google Metal Gear Solid 5 gameplay trailer, and it's crazy. And then there's the trailer for footage of Final Fantasy, basically where you can play boy bands, driving to work.
I
I
bet
have
you.
no idea what this game is about, but it clearly looks like you just play like a boy band that can fight
Yeah, that's all it is.
buffaloes. And hey, let's go kill those rhinos with our magic. All right,
That's amazing.
and they're like very emo, but like it looks beautiful though. Like that alone makes me want to play it. Like I might not even care for the story. The story might not have any relevance to me in any way, but it's like you're a boy band that goes to Jurassic Park and fights dinosaurs and rides.
I wish it would be
awesome.
multiplayer. That'd be so dope. With multiplayer, you could just get in the car
yeah,
and then just like drive and do shit.
Yeah, you just get in the car, you start to go to your concerts. Sing to 100 girls, and then each person has to try like a mini game of trying to sing and sync and harmonize with each other.
It's like crap.
Everybody, yeah,
dude,
Final Fantasy, yeah.
Someone said,
Alright.
"Hey Anthony, did you see the Drive Club photo mode on PS4?"
Oh yeah, Drive Club 2 looks like real.
Yeah, it
Look
does.
at this. Did you want sex with real women? You can now, nerd.
You can.
You can do it now, Virgin. Let's go.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, like, it's so funny their designs. I love high fashion, and Final Fantasy's always been known for like crazy. What the? Did he just like? Hold on, I haven't seen this trailer. Did he just like watch this, boys? He just. He just like.
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, right here.
It's
I'm gonna
amazing.
link it in the Skype. So this one's a good trailer. So you guys can check this one out later, as well. But the point that I'm trying to make is that we're really on the brink. Like after, like in the next 5 years, games are gonna look sick. You know,
You see
like
the
games
Nathan
already.
Drake shit?
Yeah, games already. This is like the next gen consoles have already been out for like a very for a short amount of time. You know, like Uncharted 4 or Uncharted 1 to 3. Those games came out on the last stretch of the PS3's life.
Yeah.
And those games look phenomenal. You know, and so we're still on the front end of the consoles, and the games already look crazy good. You know,
Yeah.
So can you imagine
it's fooling people. Like I showed it to Jacqueline, and I was like, check out this Uncharted 4 render. She's like, what actor is that? I was like, it's not an actor. It's like it's 3D. She's like, nah, shut up. Like it's a person, right? And I'm like, nah.
It's crazy
It's
because
it's about to be.
yeah, it's crazy because I just watched the panel with our buddy Frank was on the panel. Which
Yeah,
was great.
shout outs to Frank Zhang in the house, lead character artist at Naughty Dog, ex-student of ours. Shout out to Damon too. Damon's over at the Kojima doing this
it?
Metal Gear Solid thing.
Sick, nice. And so, what's cool about that panel? They were talking about like Nathan Drake is a fake person. You know, like if you look at like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and not to disregard the effort that went into that, but it's like a lot of that stuff was 3D scanned. You know, like if you look at the lead character in that story, it's Troy Baker, like one of the really renowned voice actors in the game industry, right? He's like actually like it's him, right? Which is great. It's like a whole nother step in terms of like visual development for video games. But what I'm trying to say is that Nathan Drake for Uncharted 4 is nobody. You know, it's not like they went to the street and said, this guy kind of looks like Nathan Drake from Uncharted 3. Hey, bro, we're going to scan your head and you're going to act for us and do all that good stuff, right? No, it's still Nolan North, who looks nothing like Nathan Drake, right? But, you know, he's the voice of Nathan Drake. And then Frank and their amazing team of artists just came together and they just made like a real looking person from nothing, pretty much, you know? And what I love about that is what they were trying to do with Beowulf. Remember Beowulf, that really old school? Like they really found the divide between the Uncanny Valley and like 3D graphics, right? The Uncanny Valley, if anyone who has no idea what that
Yeah,
is,
you got to probably explain that one.
is basically where the difference between something that looks real and something that looks like almost real, right? Like if you see like these weird like Japanese robots, they're on the border of being real, but they're not quite there, and so because they're so close, there's like this weird like odd like monstrosity, right? And that's the Uncanny Valley, which have been like for decades, people have been trying to avoid, like try to really destroy that sense when they try to make realistic. That's why if you look at Polar Express, Beowulf, they have that sense, like they look real, but there's something about them that's very lifeless, right? And it's very eerie, and it doesn't make them look very real all of a sudden. Even though they might have real skin textures and real, there's just like this. There's very subtle things that are being avoided, or not avoided, unintentionally avoided that cause this feel, right? But now, like people like our buddy Frank, who really has a good sense of like what people look like and the subtleties of like human features, like he's like nailed it, right? And you look at his characters, like he does a lot of lifelike people. He did Mr.
Killzone.
White from well, no, I'm talking about like his like really.
Oh yeah, the Mr. White one, yeah.
Yeah, Heisenberg from Breaking Bad, right? And it looked just like Bryan Cranston. It was crazy. Like it didn't just look like it too. It felt like him. It was crazy. And that's probably why they brought him on board. They're like, dude, this guy understands what people look like, and we're getting there where people can now, like in seriously in the next few years, will be able to make people who never, like who don't exist, but feel like there could be a real person there. Like there was a real actor that they scanned and put in the game, and now it looks believable. And it's something that like Pixar has known for a while. In terms of like realism, they said that why their characters feel real is not because they look real, because that's clearly not true, right? Because they're stretched and squashed, and their designs are really exaggerated on purpose, obviously. But they said that the reason why they feel real is because of those exaggerations, because of those caricatures, and because of the animations and how they move, are reflections of real people's thoughts on emotions, like how we feel when we like talk to someone and we're trying to feel energetic. How we feel in our brain, how we look, is different from what we actually look like. Stage actors do this all the time, right? If you look at like stage actors, when they act, they will exaggerate. Like they'll open their mouth wider, their eyebrows go higher, their arms flare around, because they're building silhouettes for the audience. So if you're sitting in like the back nosebleed row and you see an actor like emoting and he's saying something really dramatic, you can feel that that's what's going on, and that's what's happening in games. Games are taking like Uncharted. They really discovered that theater acting, is really a great way to really push those emotions. Even the actors who would be on these like mocap stages would be acting as if they were in a stage play. So when you play the game, it feels like these actors and these characters in these games are real. And it's cool, man. It's really cool, and it's getting closer and closer to the point where, yeah, I mean, we could probably fabricate whole people and worlds from nothing. I mean, not entirely from nothing. What I'm trying to say is there's no... the artist's hand becomes even more powerful, right?
Do you think we're gonna get there by this gen, or one more gen of consoles?
Well, I think this is the last gen of consoles, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, because I think in 5 to 6 years, the iPad or any tablet will actually probably be comparable to the freaking generation of consoles now. I mean, the Surface Pro is already like seriously like one step behind before it's like probably just as powerful as the PS3 or PS4. I mean, it's crazy to think that that's true, but it's true, right? Like tablet and laptops are like that difference is starting to separate more and more. I mean, think about our phones, right? Like think about the game Infinity Blade, right?
Or
like
the new MOBA, Vainglory.
Yeah, see, like those are like those look
Shout
like
outs to Carlo.
Yeah, Carlo Arolino. I can never pronounce his last name. Arolino.
Arliano, man.
See, damn it.
He's
Sorry, Carlo.
gonna whip your ass.
He
He's
he
so
could
yeah. I got
if he
so
could
buff.
catch me. I'm fucking fast.
No, you're not.
No, I am fast.
You have the long distance thing. Let's
No,
sprint.
no, I'm not. I hate long distance running. I'm a sprinter. I've always been a sprinter. Even John, like, because John is long distance. He has better endurance than I do.
Yeah,
And
you're pretty fast.
and then John's like thought he could beat me because he runs a
What?
lot, and
Damn.
I don't hardly run, and I'm just like John, I'm black.
I'm like,
And then I just like outrun him, and he's like, "What the?"
What?
Yeah,
All right,
seriously,
me and AJ gonna race then next time.
I swear to God, I'll smoke you, dude. You have no idea.
I'd like to see that.
I was a super fast sprinter in high school.
All right,
Trust me,
I'll
man.
take your word for it.
I ran the 800 in a minute 55 seconds. That's pretty fucking fast. 400 in like 52 seconds.
If we're
Pretty
sprinting, like, what's the
fucking
distance? Like 100 yards or what?
100 yards, I can do. I'm like right around 10 seconds, man. I'm pretty
Okay,
fucking
so
fast,
if we
bro.
race, like, what are we doing? We're doing 140. So what are we doing?
Um,
Let's do a
uh,
40.
a 40, like football.
Yeah, like we're in 40 yards.
You'll get destroyed.
What? I love this one. This is great.
I don't know. You guys are both black. So.
Yeah. No, you have to trust me on
We're
this,
We're
brother.
both half, so it doesn't really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So I think like in the next few years, seriously, like it's gonna be me. I don't know why I wanted to. I just felt like I had to sing that right now. Yeah, I really believe that technology is just. There's like this great website that or like a great article I just read recently. You know how it's like 12 things you know you're a fucking prostitute. If you weren't sure. If you're having sex for money, number one. No, no, like it was one of those like lists, like top 10 things, whatever. And one of them, yeah, but sometimes they're great. Like if you're like reading the ones like top 10, like reasons you should like have a boyfriend, or I don't know, something stupid, that you shouldn't read those. But the ones like are on science are always great because they just compile all the cool discoveries and stuff. And one of the things is like the top 12 ways you can tell that you're in the future, right? And it was great, man. It was cool to see like all the stuff. And like for example, one of my favorite ones is they were showing like a computer that was selling like 10 megabytes for like $60,000, like back in like the 70s or something like that.
It's intense.
Yeah, like 10 megabytes was like 60 grand. And
It's like a floppy disk.
yeah, and then it showed like in 2005 just like um, a little mini disc, the ones that you put in your cameras, like the smaller ones though, not the standard size one. Was like 128 megabytes, which is like $50.
Dude, it's all about the no skip Walkman. Remember that shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Walkman, you
But-
put that shit in that thing, and then when the Sony came out with the no skip, you would just like shake it, and you're like,
Oh,
"What
dude.
the fuck?
Yeah, totally.
It's not skipping!" Oh
Someone
my
said,
god!
"Do you guys think that we will have technology that will basically give you senses or have the senses replicated to other parts like smell, taste, and pleasure
Yeah, sure, why not?
to make an experience more
Yeah,
Down.
real?"
I'm down.
I don't think that's impossible. But before we talk about that, actually, there was one part where it was actually showing like today there's 128 gigabyte like mini disk, right? 128 gigabytes. So in about a decade, we went from 128 megabytes, so literally like 10 times that. It's crazy, man. Or is it 10 times? Yeah, it's 10 times. Yeah, and it's insane, man. Or is it 1,000 times? I don't even remember now. I don't know my math.
No.
Yeah, but it's crazy because there's 1,000 gigabytes or 1,000 megabytes in 1 gigabyte. Yeah, and so it's insane, dude. It's so cool, and like I would never thought that in my lifetime that I might see people land on Mars, right? In about 10 to 15 years, there's gonna be people landing on Mars. Isn't that nuts?
Oh, did you hear about that
Crazy.
comment too? That it has water on it?
Yeah. Like, well, all comets have water, or not all, but most of them do, right? Because they're made up of ice. But the discovery is more about what the water contained,
Yeah.
Right? It had like way more of some
It had
substance
way
than that.
more hydrogen or some shit like that. It was
No,
like
no, no. It was like way more of the. Maybe it was. I don't know.
it
But
was more
it
it
just
was
had
more
more of
hydrogen.
something. Yeah, that
Yeah, it's
is
like
not
denser
found on
hydrogen.
Earth. And what that did specifically, what they were trying to say about that is that, well, if this is like abundant in the universe, like this is just commonplace, then the theory of like Earth being populated with life because of comets, like the water coming from comets constantly bombarding Earth, might not be true. There might be an alternative to why there's like so much water on our planet that's still around, right? And so because of that comment saying that, well, if this is a thing, then it wouldn't have been around the way, or life wouldn't have sustained, or all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, man, that's so crazy. But John's not impressed though. John's not impressed about us
Fuck
landing
no.
on that comment.
Fuck
Not
no.
at all.
He was like, I was showing him pictures and stuff, and he was like, "Comet looks small, man." And I'm like, "What? Is that Is that what you had to say about this?" He's like,
No, that's
"Yeah,
not
I
true. You
expected
totally
more.
got me all wrong.
I expected
I
more."
was saying it. I thought it was bigger than what it was.
Yeah, that's
That's
all.
all.
He just was not
You took
impressed.
it way out of.
He just was not impressed
I
about.
was impressed, but I thought it
But
was
what?
bigger. That's all I was saying. Is I thought it was bigger.
What motherfucker?
But who cares if it was smaller than you expected? Oh boy, I'm going to kill John. I'm going to kill him for save science. Kill John. All right, but yeah, let's go ahead and let's jump into the Q and A. So anyone who has any questions via Facebook or via the UStream chat, John will start to ask us questions and we'll try to answer them.
Yeah. So the first question says, can you work in the digital art and entertainment industry if you go to a fine art school and atelier made to make fine artists, 16 students maximum? Would attending a school like this be a disadvantage?
No.
No, I think the only thing you would do to ruin your chances in terms of getting a career in the entertainment industry is not learning any digital art, right? Like, well, let me say it like this. Actually, let me rephrase it: not learning any digital tool. That's probably a better way, because the way that I paint is based off of foundational painting techniques. That you would probably learn from Atelier. I didn't go to Atelier. I never went to any formal painting, school or anything. But I learned my life drawing from a traditional artist, and I learned a lot of my painting techniques from traditional artists. Leyendecker is one of my favorite resources. Sargent's another one of my favorites. Jeremy Geddes, Phil Hale, some of the people who live today. Steve Houston. I could go down. I could go down a list of 100 people that are mostly traditional artists because if you want to get good and you want to get fast, specifically for speed, then you got to learn traditional. You got to learn why traditional artwork is done the way it's done. Because guess what? They've been doing it for centuries now, and even for a millennia, right? And so they've been learning techniques and skills because there was no Photoshop, there was no undo to paint effectively, efficiently, and accurately, right? And I learned that the fastest way to paint is not to paint in Photoshop, is to just know how to paint, right? And some of the best artists, digital artists today, are really good traditional artists, right? Carla Ortiz, one of my favorites, she's really good at traditional drawing.
Yeah.
Right? And if you look at her motherfucking drawings, there's no doubt that she knows what the hell she's doing, And it's
Well, all the top
beneficial.
illustrators usually have a pretty good like traditional foundation background. Like if you look at any like traditional like people that do like Magic the Gathering and any kind of that stuff, if you look at their resume and look at their schooling, they probably went to like a traditional school and that kind of stuff. So
Or have a
I don't think it's
respect for
hard to transition. It's just you just gotta change the tool up a little bit, but I think that foundation's still the same.
Yeah, Jamie Jones, one of his favorite painters that he always refers to is Richard Schmid, and he's a traditional painter. And Jamie Jones paints very like traditional feeling, right? And it's it's not to say that if you don't learn traditional painting that you won't learn how to paint fast. That's obviously not true either. But if you're looking to say is there a disadvantage, the only disadvantage that anyone could ever give themselves is to be kind of like a old fogey about things. Like I like to try to point this type of stuff out to people. Like, don't be the guy that's like back in my day, you know, especially people in our era, because back in our day is constantly changing, man. Like back in my day, we used to, like Caitlin said, we used to have CD players that we would get pumped if they didn't skip. That wasn't
Dude,
too long ago, man. Like
I used to ride on my scooter,
I'm
hit
not
jumps.
I'm not
no
an old
fear.
man yet. Yeah, I'm not an old man yet, and yet I can say that stuff, man. Already.
With no fear of it skipping.
Yeah,
Hit this jump.
back in my day, I remember there was a time where someone asked me like, "Why don't you have a pager, bro? Like, you should get a pager." It's like, dude, I wouldn't want people to get a hold of me whenever. That's like crazy, man.
That
And
is
now
true.
it's like
Freshman
you
in high
cannot
school
get a hold of me.
to call this girl all the time,
Yeah.
but I couldn't call her on her house phone, right? So she's like, "Call me on my pager, and then I'll know, and then I'll call you from this number." I'm like, "What's this number?" She's like, "I have my own line," and I'm like, "You have your own like in-house like line?" She's like, "Yeah, like our house," because she's like rich. I was like, "What?" So I call her pager, and then like 5 minutes later, then she would call me.
Yeah,
So-
and the latest South Park episode kind of hinted on this same ideal, right? Like they're kind of making fun of PewDiePie and like the fans of PewDiePie.
Yeah.
In fact, like the people watching people play video games, right? And then like Cartman was a person who watch people play video games, and
It's so good.
And it was good because like what they were making fun of is like because Kyle and Stan they're still kids, but they were being called grandpas to like all the little preschoolers.
Yeah.
Because like they were like trying to play video games. Like he wanted to play video games in the living room with his brother, and his brother didn't want to because he wanted to watch someone else play video games in their living room, right? And it's funny because it's like that's kind of true, man. Like who are we to say that what we did is more important than what the next generation is doing, right? Because if you ever just like again give it like half a thought before you start, really considering what you think is true. Like, just give it half a second thought and think, there was a time where I said something like this to somebody else, right? And I knew that I was right? Where I was like, you don't understand. This is a new age. Like, this is how things are now. And then now, like, let's say, fast forward a few years, and you start saying to somebody, man, it used to be better when people used to do this. And realize that you have become the very thing that you revolted against not too long ago, right? And I always try to think. Like I think Donald Glover, he did a really good stand up on this. He was talking about how like people are like, man, it used to be better back in the day. Rap music used to be good back in when it first began. And he's like, no, it wasn't. People would just be like, I'm going to the store to get some juice. And then I'm gonna get some loose. It's like it is not better. He's like, there was a time where people got hung for just saying some weird shit. It's not better back then. It is better today, and it's true, man. Like think about like one of our really good friends. He's gay. And he was going through all this gay stuff, and he was talking about like Triple A's being like constantly be littered by other people, and like there was definitely people out there that were showing him hate, and the whole Prop 8 stuff came out, and it was just really a mess. And I talked to him about it, and I was like, dude, don't worry, man. Like seriously, in about like 10 years, probably less than that, and this is like about 4 or 5 years ago. I told him this. I was like, this is going to be, people are going to be like, this is clearly wrong and stupid. Just like they did with slavery, just like they did with women's rights, because it is, right? And sure enough, that's the case. There's more open people out there, right? Like in terms of like homosexuality. I mean, there's still people that don't approve of it, but it's going to be one of those things where time will pass where people like, remember when people used to like hate on gays? Right? Just because prejudice is clearly wrong, right? And it happens, and it will happen, and will constantly. There will be new things to be prejudiced on, for sure. And then they will eventually go away, right? And I like to think like, you have to understand that we are living in a better age. Maybe not in terms of other stuff like climate. Like there might be some real bad shit coming pretty soon, right? But in terms of like society and in terms of like, on the social aspect of it, things are much better. They really are, And we are living in a time where complete countries can overthrow their government using Facebook, right? It's crazy, you know? People could start to see the injustice of the world elsewhere and can do something about it. That used to not be a thing, man. Like, could you think that like there was a time, this whole Iraq stuff and the whole 9/11 and all this stuff, with this like America terrorizing everybody. Did you ever think that we probably been doing that for a while, and it's just only now we can say something about it because the internet, right? Like, do you see the difference? Like they're probably doing this shit for quite a while, but there was no internet. They had fucking pagers, like no one knew shit, and we're just like, we're fine. Government's fine, right? And they're like, yeah, we're fine. We're just gonna put military bases all around the world. Why? I mean, like think about it now. Like we don't have a Korean military base in America anywhere, or a British military base, right?
What? Hold on, what was that? Say that one more time.
A British. Right? We don't have England up. We don't have England up in this business, right? But yet we have military bases over there, right? What's the difference? Why? And we can say something about that today. We could really can. There's like this whole police brutality which has been going around for a while. Someone, one of my friends was like, that person definitely deserved to get shot, and I was like, well, I would contest that. I think cops should not have to shoot people because they have other alternatives to disarm and slow down things. Killing people it should be the last resort. And what's funny is that we can have that conversation, and then the cops and whoever we disagree with, and especially in this case, if there's like harm being done, people could say something about it, And it's cool, dude. It's cool. And it's a passive way of doing it, too. It's not like people aren't dying because of their beliefs as much as they did in the past. You can say what you believe anonymously, but like openly, and it's all of a sudden starts to become like a problem for people, like the government. And that's great. That's a really good thing. And so what I'm trying to say is that if you start to complain about like your life and all the things that are going wrong in your life, maybe you should start counting all the things that are going well, and understand that there's still people out there in this world who have it way worse, man, so much worse. And we're very fortunate. If you're watching this stream, I believe you are more fortunate than others. I really believe that. Because for one, you have internet.
AJ has the best British accent I've ever heard.
Hello, governor.
Wait. Can you say beer can in a British accent?
No.
Just say it.
All right, let's go to the next question.
Did you know if you say beer can in a British accent, you're really saying bacon in a Jamaican accent?
Let's hear you say it.
Mind blown. Just do it in your head.
All right, next person.
Alright, it says, is it more important to be able to paint something as you see it, like a fine artist with his model, or to actually have the knowledge of how something works and being able to paint it from your head?
Both.
Yeah, I would favor more the painting with your head, because then you can be a concept artist, you can be a creative artist, because a little bit better at that type of stuff. Because for me, and I'm just speaking for myself, because for me, I retain a lot of information. Like I put that information and store it into my brain, so that way later on I can recall it. It's faster, right? But it's not to say that you should never use reference, right? I always use reference, and I use reference for things I do not know, or things that I have a fuzzy memory in, and that's how it should be, right? It's in its word. It's reference. It's not like copy this and put this in my artwork, right? It's something that, like, oh, I need this because this reminds me of a certain shape or certain value or certain something, right?
You need a good balance, I think.
Yeah, I think you should have both, but I definitely think it's better to retain as much as information as possible. And let me tell you, it's harder. It's harder to do that for sure. You know, it's easier to start remembering things if they're always in front of you. It's harder to remember them if they're not, right? It's harder to try to draw a person like that looks anatomically correct from memory than it is if they're right in front of you. That's just fact, right? And but once you start to, what the funny thing is once you start to practice memorizing like a person, what they look like, you know, when you memorize like what a person looks like from memory, and then you try to draw from life, it becomes even easier. Like it works better in that way, right? Because then you not only do you remember the subject without looking at it, now looking at it and with your own subconscious memory, you can start going a little further. And some of the best life drawing artists can do that. They can do both, right? They don't really need reference, but when they have it, they like murder, right?
People.
Are we ending the stream at 1:30?
Yeah. So let's just do lightning round.
All right.
Lightning round.
Next one says, I have a question about character design. If I have an idea about the character I will draw, but I don't have a clear idea about the cloth, how that will be, armor/cloth/parts. Are you doing research before you start to draw, to do thumbnail and sketches? Do you rely on the visual library and your imagination to be knowledge of how the clothing parts will be? And if you don't, make it digital and use a sketchbook traditional.
Yeah, let me like make it real easy so we can move to the next one. If I were to ask you a question like how many stripes are on a zebra, and you did not know the answer, you'd be like, I don't know. And then I say, okay, how many stripes are on a zebra? And you're like, what? You just asked me that question. I was like, I know, but answer it. He's like, I don't know the answer. Okay, but how many stripes are on that zebra? And I do this for like another 10 minutes until I try to prove my point, which is you need to go research. You need to look it up, right, before you can truthfully answer that question. So you go online and you research and you read about it. And then if I ask you how many stripes are on a zebra, you'll be like, oh, well, there's apparently X amount of, according to this. But you've educated yourself. What I find that people end up doing wrong is they don't understand that that's how it is. Whenever they start to paint something that they don't know, they get frustrated because they're like, oh, how come I can't paint cloth? And it's like, because you didn't research how to paint cloth. It's very obvious. And every time you make an attempt, it's not going to get any easier. It's just going to make you more frustrated, and you're going to start having these false senses of failure. You're going to think that you actually are bad at art, when the real reality is that you're just ignorant, which is there's a cure for ignorance. It's called knowledge, right? And so all you have to do is just take a second and say, oh, if this is really hard, like if I can't justify what I'm doing I spent 2 hours trying to paint cloth, maybe I don't know what cloth is. Maybe that's a better question or better thing to think about than to think I suck at art. Because that's usually happens, and a lot of people come to me with this problem. Like, how do you get out of stumps, man? I keep trying the same thing and I just can't do it. It's like, well, all right, try to do a backflip right now. What? Like, do a backflip. I don't know how to do a backflip. Just do one, though. Just keep doing it until you do a backflip. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So why not? Because I haven't trained. I haven't learned how to do all the stuff to do a backflip. Oh, okay. So what are you doing with your art? You're trying to do that motherfucking backflip. Why don't you just go skydiving right now? Go skydive. No. Why don't you go pick up 700 pounds right now? Just pick it up. I can't. I haven't trained. It's the same thing, guys. All right? Next.
I live in Canada. Do you think it is a disadvantage if I try to find freelance work in the U.S.? Are companies like Wizards of the Coast or Blizzard considering the nationality of the artist in choosing a candidate for freelance work?
I don't think there's definitely disadvantages, but I wouldn't count on them too hard. I would just focus on networking, which is just going to conventions and meet people as much as possible, right? And having pretty good work, because you would be surprised that you might not even have to actually move and work for pretty big studios. Like Wizard of the Coast is a freelance gig. So you wouldn't have to do anything other than have really good work at that point, and get it in front of people who are hiring at Wizards of the Coast. Where if you go to Comic-Con, you can do just that thing. They're always there. So next.
Says, are you guys relaunching Solid State anytime soon?
Not anytime soon, but I definitely want to do that. I was thinking about it actually the other day.
Yeah, me too.
And I was like, I want to bring it back. It'll be fun though. But I want to be in a much stable position where I would have more time to actually do it. That was the problem, because I still have a lot of things I need to finish, and it would be reckless of me to kind of just work on this another extremely art heavy thing that requires like more of my time than all these other things. And it's been great to kind of take a break from it, but we definitely want to do it because we love the idea and we love what we were going to do with it.
Cute.
Are you guys planning on going to Trojan Horse was a unicorn next year?
Yeah, I don't know if I can go as a speaker, that'd be great. If not, I'm just going to go as a spectator. I didn't know that was a thing until I saw all my friends go, and I'm like, what? Why didn't anyone tell me?
Yeah, everyone's talking about how great it was.
Badly marketed. I'm like, how did I not hear about that?
Yeah, and the marketing was actually
they were like,
pretty good.
Go, just don't tell AJ.
Yeah, it was like a crazy like trailer for it and all this stuff. And I was like, what? How come I didn't? What?
It was like, don't tell AJ.
Right.
What do you think about VR gears like the Oculus Rift, for example? Do you think that the VR could be the next step to not only gaming but entertainment, or even as a tool for study or work?
Yeah,
I think
Totally.
it could be anything, man. It's the future, dude.
I feel like I'm the only one that doesn't like think that's like the future. I think it has some uses, but I'm that negative guy that's like, I don't see it. But though I will say, like, in terms of like horror games, it seems like it's really, really cool. Like like our friend Rob was playing the Alien Isolation game on Oculus Rift, and he said it was like the most creepiest shit ever. But like, I just can't picture myself like wanting to sit in my living room with like a headset on and I can't see shit and be like, I want to play Call of Duty. I'm going in, baby. Don't talk to me.
All right.
Like a thing.
All right, Grandpa. All right, next.
Yeah, right. See, I'm like a grandpa. Like, I don't see it. Like, I don't think I need to use it to log on to Facebook. I feel like it's gonna be that route more or less like the Xbox One. Remember when the Xbox One came out and everyone's like, you can talk to it, and I'm like, all right, that's cool, but like, how often are you gonna use that?
It's gonna get more intuitive.
You could do that before. It has nothing to do with like, this is different from talking to your Xbox to being in a virtual world.
Yeah, totally.
Those are two different realms, because the logistics of talking to your Xbox, why that doesn't work and why most people don't do it, is because it actually requires more work for something that a button can do like right now. You know,
yeah, so that's what I'm saying is like,
where VR is like,
VR is gonna make it easier for me. Like, if it makes it easier for me,
no, you're thinking of it in terms of like video games. I don't think like playing Call of Duty is what it's made for. I think it's made for like making, like watching, like, and being part of an experience versus playing an experience, right? There's already like the simulator where you can like, it basically you get deep sea diving into like bottom of the ocean, and there's like sharks coming at your like, that's the kind of stuff that this is going to be made for, right? And what's going to be cool, because soon is like people are using it to make like 3D sculpts in like a 3D environment, that's pretty cool. So there, applications for it aren't I think are as obvious as you may think.
They're gonna make it for porn, dude. Don't lie.
Oh yeah, once porn gets into it, then it's gonna be solidified as a
$1 billion industry.
Yeah.
Yep.
To make so much money. ZBrush, ZBrush and hose.
Yeah.
I have a question. I've entered a contest recently, and people are at these forums are accusing me of plagiarism, although my work looks nothing like what inspired me, but rather a remake or remix, and claiming my work isn't original, trying to disqualify me. I felt really upset about this. How would you react and think about this situation?
I would just ignore the haters. If you truly are not plagiarizing and you've done an honest job, the people that are in charge of the contest will be able to tell, whether or not. I haven't seen the comparison, so I'm just going to give you the benefit of the doubt. So I would just like, if you're earnest and it was honest, I don't think you should have anything to worry about. But if you can see how they can you could see why they would make those assessments. Then take that into account and maybe make adjustments in future work, and say, okay,
Yeah.
like, what can I do to avoid this in the future? Because I don't want people to think that this is who I am and what I do, right? Because that's the reality, is like, whether you think you've done it or not, or whether you believe you've done it or not, other people believe you have, right? Whether they're just being trolls, and there's tooth to that, and you have to appreciate that tooth. You don't have to appreciate the commenters. You don't have to give them any more respect if you really feel like they're giving you an unfair shake. But you have to think about it objectively. You can't let yourself get too personal about this, even though it's very personal. You have to think, okay, how can I avoid this in the future? Because whether you like it or not, it is some sort of criticism that seems very abundant enough for you to be concerned with it, right?
Yeah.
If it's like one person,
Then
and
it's
then
what?
and then it's like whatever, it's just the guy's being a troll. If it's like
If
two
it's
people,
everybody.
then you start to be like, okay, maybe they're just buddies. But then if it starts to like accumulate, then you have to start thinking, what is it? Why would they do this? You know, and not like in a way where you'd be like fuck you guys, but more like an internal why. Like why?
Like in the
What did I,
future,
what can I do? Yeah, what can I do to
like in the
this?
future, what you can do is just make sure that if you do contests, is make sure that you just upload your work in progress. Make sure you upload your reference pages. Make sure you just upload all that stuff. So
Yeah.
just that way you can be very transparent about your process. So then that way, like they literally had nothing they can say to be like, oh well, you know what I mean? But you'd be like, well, here it is. Like I've literally showed you everything that I've done. But
Yeah,
sometimes,
which could be the
that
case. It could be the
regardless.
case. Yeah.
Like it can happen regardless. I mean, there was one instance where I remember like Nino and them had a project idea, and they literally wrote it all out, did it all out, and then someone was like, "Oh, it's like this one movie," and they're like, but they had never seen it before, you know, and then they were like, "Fuck, it's like someone already did it." So it's quite possible that sometimes people have the same idea even though they've never seen it before. I mean that does happen. So sometimes you just got to make sure that if you're a genuine person, most people won't. They'll forgive you or whatever. But yeah, in the meantime, to avoid that kind of stuff is just be transparent and do a lot of research. So then that way you don't find yourself in that kind of situation, because it's
All right.
definitely not fun.
All right, we have to close up pretty soon. How many more questions do you have?
Just one more.
All right, great.
Says, are you guys gonna be doing any more Gumroad tutorials before 2015?
Oh, I already done a few. I'm actually revamping. I'm bringing them back.
I'm
Bringing
supposed to
Gumroad back.
do a free one. I've been going through a kind of an injury, so I haven't been doing much. But I'm trying to release it before I go on my vacation, and then I'll be doing like a whole like I guess you guys hear it here first. I'm gonna be doing like a full like 80% off on all the Gumroad videos, because I feel like it's like Christmas time, so it's like I'll be releasing a free video and then 80% off. But I'm probably gonna take a break from Gumroad for a while, because I really want to work on myself and like learn new things, I guess, like really explore new techniques and like become comfortable with it. Because I think it's like I'm kind of like AJ. I'm kind of running out of content to really talk about. I feel like there's so much that everyone already talks about that like, why would I need to talk about it? So
Yeah, that's what happened with me. I took like a few months off, and
Yeah.
it helped because now I have a lot of stuff to talk about, new things. I've taught too. I taught a lot of new people, and there's some things I saw that people had wrong with their work, and then it inspired me to give them specific kinds of advice I've never given anybody. Because whenever to become a good teacher, you have to teach a lot, right? And you have to be exposed to a bombardment of work from all kinds of students. So you can start to see kind of a pattern of what people do wrong. And when you can do that, when you can start to see that, you can start to see what you're even doing wrong, and start to reevaluate yourself as a teacher and as an artist. And that's what's happened in the last few months with my mentorship. And I've learned a lot from my students, and my students have learned a lot from me, which is great. And so now I'm able to come back with my Gumroad videos with some objective, like, new content. And we're making it better, too. We're restructuring how they're presented, how they're given to you. We're doing teaser trailers. John's helping me with that, which is awesome. And then we're also doing, we're breaking the videos in segments so it's easy to digest. All this type of stuff. So if you just go to the website, robotpencil.net, you should be able to go to the tutorial section and see the new ones that are being... We've already made 3. My plan is to make 3 every week. One on Monday, one on Wednesday, one on Friday. And then just do that for as long as I can until I run out of stuff to talk about and teach. Which, I don't know how that will be. But I have a lot of things to talk about now. like I said, I don't want to just keep making videos for the sake of making videos. I want to make videos that I can actually feel proud of, and that's how I felt towards the end of my first Gumroad run. I was just like, I'm just saying the same stuff. So anyway, thanks guys for hanging out on the stream. We're gonna go rock climbing now. We're gonna now strengthen our bodies and try to climb stuff. And yeah, all right guys, thanks again. If you guys have any questions or whatever, you can always visit the website, join our mailing list, or you can just message me on Facebook, or you can message John on Facebook. And then we'll get back to you with any questions that you guys have. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.